Hey, thank you so much for completing the course. I have provided some bonus features for you, so go ahead and check those out. I've also provided a troubleshooting checklist, which we're going to go over now. We're not going to go over every single one, but if Logic Pro is not working, I want you to come back to this as a resource. Now, at the end of this video, I'll provide a QR code, and all you have to do is scan it, and you can bookmark that website so that you can access it if you ever need it. So thank you so much for being on the journey with me. Let's finish this off. So first, I've just provided a couple of key commands for those of you that want to start extending beyond the mouse or trackpad. So play, spacebar. You can also use the icon at the top left. We have cycle, which is key command C. And I want to teach you a quick key command that's really nice. Let's say you wanted to create a cycle region around track number 3. Contains one region. So if you look at the very top, you can see a cycle region has been created that perfectly fits this region. Try it out and you'll see what I mean. Recording, R. To open up the mixer, we have X. Okay. Piano roll and audio track editor are E. So these editors pertain to their appropriate format. So the piano roll editor is essentially for a software instrument. This is where we contain all the MIDI data, all of these little notes that you're looking at. Audio, on the other hand, uses key command E, audio track editor. Now we can also click on the icon up here, the little scissor icon. Conversely, you can double click on the regions and their respective editor will come up. Do the same for drummer. I'll click on the drummer region once to make sure it's in focus, and then I'll double click so I can see the editor. Loop browsers, key command O. You're gonna need that one, that's a go-to. And the library is key command Y. I don't want to use a piano. I want to look for a harp. We can do that. That's one way of going about it. All right, if you'd like to hear the metronome, just hit the key command K or click on the appropriate icon. And now as we play back, we will be listening to the click. Let me turn that off. Shift K will turn counting on and off. Now these next two I really like. Rather than using my hands to move my mouse or trackpad and move the playhead around, we have the ability to move the playhead by just hitting period and comma. That's a really nice workflow where I don't have to necessarily use my mouse to place the playhead, let's say on bar 21 or bar 13. That can be repetitive in nature, and so just sometimes using comma and period is a nice workflow. Now if you want to move in larger increments, hold shift, now you're moving per 8 bars. So that's a nice workflow as well. The last thing I want to teach you is the importance of duplicating a region. So you see that I have a performance here with drummer. I could hover over to the right of it and hit that little plus symbol, which you see right there, but I can also simply hit command R and that will duplicate a region. Let's say I wanted to take this performance of the piano and duplicate it over again. Command R will do that in seconds flat. You don't always have to re-record everything over again. Like, you know, sometimes you can simply chop off the ending as I've done here, move that over to bar 25 or what have you, duplicate the regions, and then move forward with ease. So that's a really nice feature. Learn how to implement command R into your workflow. All right, so let's get into the troubleshooting. We've talked about inputs and outputs extensively. If something goes wrong and you can't hear your microphone or guitar, I'm willing to bet that that may be an issue. Did you select the correct input? And are you input monitored? Are you record enabled? So check out those things. If you're having problems with latency, we want to check our buffer size. Low when recording, high when mixing. Something else that you can do to armor yourself in the world of production is use low latency mode when you're having issues with that recording delay. So check that out. Always record in the appropriate sample rate. So if your interface is set to 48K, make sure your session is set to 48K. If your client wants 44K, go ahead and set your session to 44K. Now, I will just give you a trade secret. You can always convert and change up the game. So you're never really stuck. For example, if you start at 44, but your clients ask for 48, you can simply start at 44, get to the end of the process, and then bounce at 48K. If it sounds like I'm speaking another language now, start studying the basics of audio, and it'll go a long way. Something else very surprising, but it comes up more often than not, is one of your tracks muted. You might come to find that you can't hear anything simply because the track is muted, or oftentimes if you look at the diagram here, we see that the mute function is on one of the channel strips. So just be careful, take your time, and really start to look at the program with depth. This is for those of you that aren't getting a MIDI signal. Maybe hard to believe, but sometimes it's just the cable. The cable's not connected properly, or it simply isn't connected at all, or perhaps we have a dud and we need to be replacing that cable. So one thing I like to do is I like to utilize the MIDI activity function, and that gives me a lot by way of visual cues, and it's telling me this is working or it's not. So go ahead and play with that. That'll go a long way as well. One of the trickiest things about this program, which I don't really like, but let me show you, it's really interesting. Like if I create a software instrument empty channel strip, right? And I type in piano. Look at this. This is so confusing. As a beginner, I would think to select the very first acoustic piano, but when I do, what ends up happening is I select what's called an external MIDI track. You may have noticed in the new tracks dialog window that we have that function here, external MIDI. Now, this is something that we didn't cover. It's not necessary at this time in juncture. In fact, it's not necessary for most Logic users in general. So anyway, that could be really confusing because you see that the MIDI activity is working in the LCD, but inside of this track, nothing is happening. It's an external MIDI track. We need something outside to bring in the sound. And so look, I can start recording and I'm getting the MIDI to show up on the program. I'm seeing activity, and you can kind of see where this could be just overwhelming and can boggle you down. So just be careful that you're never using an external MIDI track. Now, push comes to shove, I want you to turn off Logic, like literally quit the program, or I want you to turn off the computer and then start everything up again. Some people claim that this doesn't help, but I will tell you first-hand experience that it has helped. Sometimes interfaces don't clock in properly with the DAW, and so this is just a good way to make sure that you've kind of started from ground zero. So restart if you're ever having any serious problems. And then the last thing here is use the quick help feature. I know I threw this out there once, but it really is extremely valuable if you're new to the program. Let's say I hover over the left inspector. All of a sudden I'm getting data that I didn't have before. And if I hit the key command, Control Option Command Shift H, you can see that Logic provides more information. So if there's really something that I'm trying to grasp, this is a good place to go. All right, my good friends, well, this is the time where we say goodbye. I have a lot of other resources out there, so please check them out. You have just experienced my first course. This is what I recommend for individuals that just get started. Believe me, there is much more to do. There is much more to accomplish and to comprehend. But thank you for trusting me on this journey. It means the world to me. This program gave me a second chance at life and been able to fulfill my dreams. And so to be able to give back like this just really means a lot. So this is Eddie Gray signing off. Thank you so much for checking out the course. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. See you later.